If you've been wondering how your Valorant agent stacks up against the rest of the roster and how powerful your character will be at the highest level of play, then you come to the right place with the comprehensive Valorant agent tier list, ranking them from 1 to 3. But before we get into it, do me a favor and smash the subscribe button. Our coaches and editors are working double time to bring you double daily uploads. Don't miss out on a single one. Smash that sub button. Now, without further ado, let's just jump right into it, shall we? So kicking it off with the tier 1 heroes. We're talking about the heroes that are the best for team play. You bring the most to your team, and these characters are going to be essential for high level play just due to the utility that they bring to each and every team and the power level of their kit. So they're going to be in order from the best and most essential character to the least essential every single time I talk about them. So the best undisputed hero in the tier 1 category is undoubtedly Brimstone. Brimstone is incredibly powerful for a number of reasons, but the big one in my mind is his Cloud Smoke. Cloud Smoke is incredibly easy to use. You can smoke up exactly what you want to, smoke multiple points of entry. You can use it to be aggressive, defensive, set up plays, or simply keep perma smoking the same choke over and over again. This ability is so strong that every single high level game has a Brimstone in it, and on top of it, his ultimate orbital strike is insanely good at dissuading enemies for potentially planting a spike or defusing one altogether. Brimstone is the full package. He's insanely powerful for this reason alone. Then we got to talk about the next hero in the tier 1 category, which is definitely Breach. Breach is going to be a character that is going to be found to be very broken as players get better with him. The fact that he can stun enemies, flash enemies, or do damage to enemies, or ult entire teams from around corners without even seeing them, this is insanely broken. And I know that Raze is getting all the flack right now, but I promise you when that dies down, Breach is going to be the one that everyone's going to be mad about. He is so powerful with setups, and if you can predict where enemies are setting up, you can systematically check every single corner, set up unfair advantages against you and an enemy, and take points easily, especially when played with the team. He's a great team player, so he's on the tier 1 list. Then we're going to talk about the third and final character that I have in the tier 1 category, and this one might be a little bit controversial, but it's Sage. Now, Sage is the only healer on the roster, which is powerful, and I'm not going to understate exactly how powerful it is. In trade fights, when every team takes certain amounts of damage, Sage can consistently heal up your team or bring you up to parity against enemy teams when she has a heal that's only on a 35-second cooldown. Now, on top of that, her resurrect ability is nothing to scoff at. You can potentially keep routing the powerful orbs that you find across the map, keep giving them to Sage, and give her a resurrect ability in the middle of a round, which can turn a close matchup and even win a game altogether. Now, the true power level in Sage's kit, in my mind, are both her slow ice ability, which is very powerful, and her wall. Her wall in particular is really good against a lot of different characters that don't have any sort of vertical mobility, because you can wall off entire choke points, and if enemies want to spend time to break them, you can potentially know where they are, make a play on them altogether, and it is very powerful for potentially walling off a mid or a flank route as well. Sage is versatile, powerful, and I think she really gives you a huge disadvantage if you don't run her in a comprehensive team of 5. Now let's move on down a tier to tier 2, and as such, these characters are still good, and I think that these characters could be put together with the top 3 to make a pretty decent team comp. They are pretty powerful, but I don't think that they're as essential as the top 3 are. That doesn't mean that they're not great, it just means that they're not as overpowered or busted or essential at high level play. Keep in mind, this list is for high level play. That being said, if you liked any of the characters on this list, please comment down below exactly what character you want to see a really advanced guide on. Now moving on to the tiers 2 section, in order again, we're going to be talking about the best tier 2 character, and that is Cypher in our minds. Cypher is very powerful for a number of reasons. He can set up these tripwire plays that enemies can shoot them if they get triggered, but it's still going to reveal their location, and honestly, enemies can jump above and below the tripwire, and if they slow rotate, they could potentially see it before they even step in it. That being said, it dissuades fast rotation, and it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. But I think the most powerful aspect of Cypher in general is his camera, actually. Camera allows you to hold potentially multiple angles from a completely safe location. We're not even going to talk about the bug floating around where your camera can actually hold a Glock. That's not really what we're going to talk about here, but I do think that camera is still just one of the most powerful abilities that you can have, especially for split holding and holding a point all by yourself. Cypher is one of the few characters that I think can pull it off. Now, just inherently by his kit, he's going to be better on defense than he is on attack. I still think he can get a lot of value on attack. I'm not saying he's bad on attack, but he is definitely bringing that extra X factor on defense, being able to guard multiple angles, set up for flank plays with his trapwire. There's a lot of value that he gets inherently just being on defense. Now we're going to talk about the next character on the list for tier 2, and it's Phoenix. Phoenix is a jack of all trades, but I don't really think he's a master of anything. He's insanely good at setting up plays aggressively with his curveball. He has the Molotov cocktail that potentially can get people out of hidey holes, and he has a flame wall. Essentially, he has a comprehensive kit that does a lot of things, and I wouldn't wouldn't blame any team for wanting him in one of their 5 spots, but I don't think that he brings that much individual unique power level. And when you're playing as a 5 in a unit, he is probably not necessarily the best thing that you could be playing. In a ranked environment, I do think that Phoenix is probably one of the best because he can fulfill any weakness that your team has. They don't have a wall to block people's LOS off. You can have Phoenix. You don't have a molly, you don't have a setup play. Phoenix has it all. But all in all, he gets the upper middle of the pack of tier 2. Now we're gonna move on to the next character on our list, and this one also might be a little controversial, but it's Raze. And I know that a lot of people are gonna be thinking that Raze is very, very overpowered, and I really don't think she is for team play. She is 100% capable of getting these huge plays off, but one of the best things that I've found to actually prevent the Raze from getting a lot of value is really check pre-round every single time. How close is the Raze to ultimate? If she has her ultimate or she's close, maybe it's far better to do split pushes instead of joint pushes. A lot of the times when you see those giant highlight reels of Razes getting 5Ks, it's because the enemy team looked and saw that the Raze had her ultimate. They ignored that advice and they ran in as a 5-person team. This is not what you want to be doing. Razes grenades can be avoided if you're prepared for them or you're looking out for them. So really, I think that while she does have a lot of power level, I wouldn't say she's overpowered, and I wouldn't be surprised if she sees some sort of tuning just because community's mad. But developers think she's balanced, and as you might not know, developers have been playing this game for a long time and they completely dominated some of the best players right now, Shroud and a lot of other players, in the head-to-head matchup. So they know how to play their game, they're good at it, and they've been testing it for a long time. I don't think Raze is as powerful as you think she is, and as such, she's bottom of tier 2. She's a great playmaker, potentially, but she's not overpowered, and she definitely doesn't deserve a tier 1 spot. Now we're gonna talk about the next hero on our list, which is Sova. Sova is an interesting one, and I wasn't quite sure exactly where to put him here. I do think that his Sonic arrow, or his Recon arrow, is the best, most powerful information gathering ability that you could find on the map, aside from Cypher's ultimate, which is very powerful. Sova is very good for those setups, especially when paired with the Breach. All of his other abilities are kind of lackluster, aside from his camera drone, which I do think can get quite a bit of value. But his damage arrows and his ultimate really don't get that much guaranteed value and are pretty underwhelming compared to a lot of the other abilities on the roster, especially in the tier 1 and partial tier 2 sections. So I do think that Sova is a great addition to some of the other characters in the tier 1 section, but I don't think that he is the end-all be-all like a lot of the tier 1 characters are. And now we're going to talk about the tier 3, and I know that this is going to make a lot of people mad, but keep in mind that the power level of a lot of these heroes are really close together. Just because your hero is in tier 3 doesn't mean that your hero is unplayable or bad by any means in your ranked environment. I'm only making this tier list for high levels of play, so please keep that in mind. So the best character in the tier 3 list is undoubtedly Viper, and Viper has a lot of setups. She has her smoke wall, she has her poison cloud that she can reposition multiple times, and her ultimate can definitely be a point take with her Viper pit. That being said, her biggest problem in my mind is that she actually has a lot of counters against better characters on the list, particularly her ultimate. Brimstone can counter her with his orbital strike, Breach can counter her with his ultimate, Sova can counter her with her Recon arrow. She just has a lot going against her. Her ultimate might not get that much value, and overall, I think that there's better characters up that she can run. It's not that she's necessarily bad. She's pretty decent and good at what she can do, but there's other characters that bring more unique abilities to the table that are more powerful, and their ultimates might not get directly countered like Viper's can, especially against the tier 1 heroes on the list. So it's kind of unfortunate that those characters are so good because they're almost like counters to Viper. Now we're going to talk about Omen really quickly, and I think that Omen is pretty powerful, but all in all, he is kind of a solo carry character. He wants to flank, he wants to set up these flank plays. While that is very powerful in a solo game when you're playing by yourself, I really don't think that it's that powerful when you're playing with a team. Teleporting behind enemy lines is really not that strong when everyone knows that you're back there. It's just gonna let them set up for scenarios where you get 2v1'd. And I think that while Omen players can definitely get really creative with their teleporter use, we have not yet seen Omens playing at a high enough level to see consistent high level play in scrims and things like that. While Omen is a great solo carry character in ranked, I just don't think that he has a place against some of the utility that we're comparing him to in the tier 1 and tier 2 sections. Now we're gonna talk about the worst character on the list, and this is gonna get a lot of people mad, but you gotta listen to me, you gotta hear me out here. The last and final character that we're gonna talk about is Jett, and I think that she's the worst character for high level play. And hear me out, hear me out. Jett has been my one trick. I've already put in probably 35 to 50 hours into the game. I'm not exactly sure how much, but a good 25 to 40 of that has been Jett. Jett is my main. I love Jett. I'm a Genji player from Overwatch, so I played tons of Jett, and I'm telling you right now, while she's very powerful, while she has a lot of playmaking capabilities, she is not going to be that good when players are playing high level together as a comprehensive unit, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. While yes, she has a lot of abilities that will bail her specifically out of situations, especially mistakes that she makes and to set up plays for better positioning. If you're playing with a team, you want abilities that can help the team and set up for scenarios where you have an overwhelming advantage. You don't want abilities that can get yourself out of a pickle. You don't want abilities that can set only you up for a play. You want abilities that can set your whole team up for a play. You want abilities that can shut the whole enemy team down with utility. I mean, think of what we're comparing it to. Smokes that can help your whole team, stunning people through walls, walling enemies off, information gathering abilities, things that like flashes. And if you compare it to all of that, Jett's kit just looks kind of shallow. It looks really solo carry-esque. I think Jett is insanely good for ranked if you have the skill level, of course. I mean, I've been popping off with her with ranked, but I can tell you right now that she's gonna suffer from a lot of the same problems that many characters in other games have, where she's insanely powerful solo queue, but if you're playing at the highest level in scrims, she is just not gonna see that much play and not get that much value. And frankly, the fact that her ultimate is a skill-based ultimate and it doesn't give you any inherent value. You can use it and get essentially no value, which is really poor when you compare it to some of the other ultimates on the table that are almost guaranteed value. I mean, compare Jett's ultimate to Raze's ultimate. I only put Raze in tier 2, bottom of tier 2, and Raze's ultimate is capable of getting a lot of kills for essentially very little skill. You compare that to Jett's ultimate, where you have to be insane mechanically and you have to pop off in order to get all these kills with Jett. And sure, it's cool and satisfying, it's awesome, but it's way harder, and for the amount of effort you have to put into it, you're getting so little value when compared to all these other heroes. All that being said, in the ranked environment, in just ranked play, I think Jett's a great character, and I'm gonna keep playing her because I love to play her, and it doesn't matter about what's best at the high level of play. But if I end up in scrims and play at a high level, I definitely want to be picking up some of these other characters on the list. All that being said, we're working hard here, pushing out double daily uploads, so do me a favor and smash that sub button if you found this information even the least bit helpful. And if you agreed or disagreed with my list here, please let me know in the comments down below. Do me a favor and smash that like button if you liked the video, because I think that this video might get quite a bit of dislikes, but I have to tell people the truth. That's all I have for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time,